This is the time of year when it's easy to toss your budget out the window to buy presents for family and friends. Now, I'm not against giving gifts to people, but you need to be able to afford it. You don't want to wreck your budget and start your new year off trying to get your finances back on track. So this year, I challenge you to give yourself that gift that keeps on giving. Worth Winning has a financial foundations package that will help you get your budget and other basic aspects of your financial life organized. Find out more at worth-winning.com. Welcome to the Worth Listening podcast, where we focus on having positive and productive conversations around money. I'm your host, Lauren, a 4-time Olympian and certified financial planner. On this show, my guests share their money stories. Everyone has a unique story and experiences both wins and losses when it comes to money. My intent is to give listeners something they can relate to, something that builds their courage to be open and take control of their own money story. When I'm not creating a great show for my listeners, I'm running my company, Worth Winning, where I help individuals and families organize their finances. Check us out at worth-winning.com. All right, now on with the show. I'm delighted to have my girl Angela E. Matthews here to share her money memoir. Angela has been an investor for over 10 years and teaches everyday people how to invest in the stock market through her online programs. While she has built several businesses over the years, she's currently the woman behind the Happy Investor Method. Her mission is to empower every single person on this earth to own at least one stock. Now, Angela wasn't taught how to handle money as a child, but when she hit college, she found out that there was another way to live. Today, we chat about the obstacles she encountered when trying to navigate financial aid, how she decided on her major, and the events that led a philosophy major into the world of investments. She shares how she started investing and some of the great advice that she gives to her clients. Let's listen as Angela shares her money memoir with us. Angela, thanks so much for being on the show today. I'm super pumped to talk to you, girl.
Thank you so much for having me, Lauren.
All right. So we need to introduce the audience to you, but I want to start at the beginning. So can you kind of break down the environment that you came up in, where you're from? Tell us a little bit about you, but also tell us a little bit about your childhood and the things you saw around money in your childhood environment.
Of course. So it's really strange because I really don't talk about where I came from very often. And I think for a lot of us, we kind of are so focused on the future. We don't think about our past. So I love this question because I'm like, wow, don't think I ever had to share that before. So I'm from Queens, New York City. I'm a New Yorker, born and raised. Sometimes I have an accent, sometimes I don't. But growing up, my parents actually came to this country in the 70s and early 80s. And so they really weren't familiar with credit and debt and all those things. Were from Guyana. And so growing up for me, they kind of fell into the trap of credit cards really quick because they made it seem like it was free money, kind of like the same way they do when you're in college. And so growing up, I remember a lot of debt growing up in my home. I remember bill collectors calling because my parents couldn't keep up with all the things that they bought on credit. And it wasn't even their things they bought. It'd be like someone would go to Home Depot and need a new refrigerator and they just call and say, "Can I borrow your credit card?" And so that happened so much that to the point where my parents were just seriously in debt. And so growing up, I didn't really have the best financial background in terms of saving money and paying off debt.
I think it's really interesting, like you said, that when you come from another country, that you're not used to the traditions or the culture of what this country has or what pitfalls there are even. And for them to have bumped into, oh, here's this thing and here's this thing that has money on it. And what could be done to better educate people about credit in general if they are coming from another country or if they never bumped into it before?
Well, it's not free money, right? There is this saying that I hate, but it's so true in terms of credit, and it's called "nothing in this world is free." And so I do think there are beautiful things that are for free, but credit cards are not those things. And so you need to get clear that there is going to be a price. And as long as you're okay with the price, and I don't mean the physical price or the tangible price, like the price tag, as long as you're comfortable with the price of it, potentially bringing down your odds of getting the home you want to buy later, or the price of you having credit or bad credit is actually going to hurt your children because they might not be able to get the student loans they need to get. And so if you're new to this country and you see people just trying to throw you a payday loan or anything like that, just be really wary that they're not trying to help you. They're kind of trying to help themselves. It's a business. Don't think it's a charity.
Yeah, I love that advice too. And I think that's something that a lot of people come from all sorts of different places. We are the United States, right? With so much diversity, and there is just different cultures when you come from different places. And how do you figure out how to navigate all this? So I love that advice that you provided. And yeah, kind of buyer beware, just because you're in the land of the free and et cetera, et cetera. Don't think that everybody that's coming up to you or coming into your life is there to help you as opposed to profit off of you. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about childhood and what kind of things did you see in the household? Was there an allowance, a piggy bank, those sorts of things?
I laugh
Yeah,
because I feel as if my mom would have laughed if I asked her for that. So I came from, my culture is kind of like, you get what you need and not really that much more than that. And so if I needed something, like if I needed new clothes or if I needed to go on a school trip, you ask for it and you get it. But there wasn't every single week, we're going to give you $20 because you did the chores in the house. It wasn't like that at all. It was like, you do the chores in the house because I go to work and this is kind of your way of going to work. Though I get paid money, but you get paid room and board and love. So I don't understand why you need money. If you want something, just ask me for it. And so the idea of allowances and teaching me how to use and spend money really wasn't a goal for my parents. The goal for them was just to make sure that we knew that we were provided for and it was outside of, say, the monetary realm.
Gotcha. You said make sure that we knew. So do you have some siblings?
I do. I have a sister. I have about 7 other siblings, but my dad was married prior to my mom. And so I have a sister that's really close to me and she's 11 years older than me. So that was also really strange and different.
Strange and different. So as having a big sister in the household, did you see some examples in money in her, or did you guys have conversations about it? What kind of examples or environment or, memories do you have of her in money management?
And so it's really interesting because for my sister, she learned how to save pretty early on, whatever she did get. And she also learned how to maximize her student refund check. Right. And so she learned the art of the refund check early on. And so she would tell me, we get these loans and then you have your refund check. And she really did a great job of stretching it out. And so for me, I thought she was really frugal in the sense that she would buy a really good piece of item and then she would just have that item forever and treat it with the utmost respect so that she wouldn't have to buy it again. And so that's what she really taught me about, say, even saving or preserving wealth. That was kind of the first thought I got about preserving wealth.
I love that. I love it. Because so frequently you get something, you said you treat it poorly, and then you need to go get something else. And you're just like, wow, I don't know where all this money went, or I don't know how this happened. But it's not just purchasing something and being frugal or very intentional about that purchase, but it's about what you do once you've made that purchase in order to make that item last and to really reach the full value of that thing that you purchased. So I think that's a great skill that she was able to teach you and a great example to have around.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting too, though, because I'm the youngest. And so my sister went to college and my parents took out a lot of student loans for her to go to college. And so it was really interesting that by the time it was my turn, I kind of had to figure it out myself. And then I wish I made a little bit better decisions when thinking about what loans to take out or even what school to go to.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that then. So you were in a position where, like you said, financial aid was a thing that you were going to need and then student loans as well. And what did that process look like for you? And where was the bad decision or the thing that you regret about doing that?
So it's really interesting how I feel as if my life is this one big story of This Is Us, right? Where you see the multiple generations and then you're like, oh, so this happened and that happened. So that's why that's like that, right? And so for me, when they see, Angela E. Matthews, like people see the public persona, they don't really understand the depth and the layers there are to that, especially within finance or your financial legacy. So like I said before, my parents had taken out so many credit cards when they first came to this country. And so what was really interesting is that my sister, they also took out loans for her. So when it was time for me to go to school, there wasn't any money left. There was zero savings, zero credit to get me some student loans or anything like that. And when I went to financial aid, they said, well, on paper, you don't qualify for financial aid. You don't get to have those special programs that are usually there for socioeconomic disadvantaged people. And I said, well, why not? I mean, dude, I'm poor. I don't have anything. And they said, well, your mom makes $50,000 a year. And back then that was a decent amount of money. And I'm like, but she has a credit card bill of $900 a month. And they don't count credit in financial aid. They don't count your debt in terms of consumer debt when filling out your financial aid, or at least they didn't back then. And so they just went based on like, well, how much do you make? How much do you pay for your taxes? And that's that. And so I had to actually handwrite letters to all these financial aid departments, showing them like my mom's credit report saying like, hey, no, really, truly, we have so much debt. I can't afford this. I need more money. My report doesn't reflect the accuracy of the situation. And for some colleges, it didn't work out. They were like, well, sorry, these are our criteria. And for other schools, they were able to figure it out. And so I'm really thankful that they were able to figure it out. But even still then, I couldn't find folks to co-sign my loans because, you know, typically your parents do that for you. And so I had to take out these horrendous loans with horrible interest rates that were pretty much really shady stuff. But I really wanted to go to school. And I knew that at some point I'd be able to pay it back because it was an investment.
That is a very interesting story. So, I mean, you referred to it as something like it wasn't the best scenario, but what do you think you could have done differently, though, in light of it was some poor decision making or the credit card debt on your parents' part and having maxed it out previously for your older sister? What could have been done differently? What would you have done differently to change that situation for your benefit?
I can't do anything about the past, right? And so the past is the past. The situation that I found myself in was just the situation. Sometimes we find ourselves in situations that have nothing to do with us, right? You could just make the best decision based on the options you have. And so of the options I had, one of the decisions that I did make was to go to a really expensive private Catholic school in upstate New York. And the tuition for that was ridiculously expensive. It was about $30,000 or something. I could have gone to CUNY, I could have gone to a state college, but I went to a private Catholic school that was 7 hours from my house because I really wanted to get away from everything I knew. I just wanted to be a different person. And so looking back, I probably could have chosen a cheaper school so I wouldn't have to take out as many loans. But it's a catch-22 because I was able to get out of the environment that I was in, I was able to put myself in a new surrounding, to see what other people did, how other people treated money, how other people's parents treated them. I completely got an upgrade in terms of this is what life could be like. And I can't really put a price on that. So I can't say I truly regret it because it definitely is so important to the person that I am today.
Yes, yes. No regrets because everything in life happens for a reason. And it's what you choose to do with making the best of a negative situation or how you choose to look at it and how you choose to rebound or react and do things differently because of it. I think you hit on three really, really good topics. So the first being this idea of not taking no for an answer. So you said, oh, I didn't qualify for financial aid. And people just walk away and they're just like, well, all right, guess I got to work with that. And you were just like, no, that's not going to work for me. So I'm going to handwrite letters to multiple schools and see if there's something they can do. And lo and behold, yeah, not everyone can do something, but there is in fact stuff that can be done when your first answer is no. So I really applaud you for taking that initiative and being hands-on with that process. But then two, the choice that you make when you make a decision about going to a school. And so, you know, you said maybe that wasn't the best option because it was very expensive, but at the same time, like you said, the experiences and the things that you got from participating and going to that school. But I think one of the things we can definitely better do, you know, you're averagely 17 or 18 years old when you're going through this college process, and sometimes 16 or 17 years old. As much as we like to think we're grown-ups, we're not. And I really encourage the world, society, educational institutions, et cetera, to come up with a better way to educate us about, you know, you don't have to go to the fanciest place. There's nothing wrong with the community college that's way cheaper, or the community college that's way cheaper for the first 2 years and then transferring in, and just getting that guidance and having someone around you to be able to say, this is what you're choosing to do by picking this option over that option. But then also, like you said, you got to school and you're like, this is awesome. I made a great decision and it turned my life on to new and different experiences that could turn me into the person that I am today. So I love, 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 love that story.
Awesome. I'm glad you like it. It's still going, right? You know, our financial legacies, just because we start off one way, we don't have to end that way. And when you realize that sometimes you think you're born into a situation, you're going to have to die into that situation. And it really gives you a feeling of hopelessness. But the second you realize that you have a choice, which we all have, then you can actually be diligent about changing your situation, right? And so for me, that's really it, Lauren. And that's what I would encourage your listeners to do is if you see a situation that you're not a fan of, you do not have to be in it. There is always a choice. In fact, the fact that you're not making a choice is a choice, right?
Preach, girl, preach.
So especially when it comes to finances, sometimes I get that there's a lot of fear involved because finances is something that we don't talk about. I know for me and my community, we don't talk about it as much as we need to because we kind of think that it's worse than it is, right? Sometimes you think, I don't want to check my credit score. It's going to be worse than it actually is. And then you check it and you're like, oh, it ain't even that bad. Or you think, where am I in my student loans? And you're like, oh, it's not even that bad. I've been paying the minimum for years. And it's actually doing something. Okay. And so just my word of encouragement to you is if you are looking in your life and there's any point that you are feeling discomfort, displeasure, you have a choice to change it. And it doesn't have to be a radical choice. It could be something as simple as listening to a podcast or listening to other folks in the industry.
Yes, I love it. We all have a choice. You got to choose to take action. You said, even if it's a little action. And I think you bring up a good point too about this eeriness around having discussions around money and how common that is in everyone's household or their culture or the environment or, even just their circle of friends. Money is not something that people are frequently talking about. And so can you talk a little bit about maybe even in college, was there ever college conversations? Like you said, you're in a new environment. You're looking at other people's situation. You're seeing different living circumstances, different socioeconomic backgrounds. Were there conversations being had in college around money with your friends? And, what were you doing then? Were you changing anything about the way that you had managed money as an under 18 versus a 18 to 21-year-old?
So between 18 and 21, what I did realize was there is money out there. So I kind of thought everyone was poor growing up, because if everyone's poor around you or everyone is in a certain circumstance, you're just going to think everyone's like that. And so it was really interesting when I started meeting my friends and they didn't grow up like that. And they thought everyone grew up the way they did. So they thought everyone got allowance. They thought that everyone's parents paid for their car. They were shocked when I didn't have my own car. They're like, wait, you didn't get a car, when you graduated high school? I was like, what? We share a car, the whole family. I can't take that car. What are my parents going to use? So it was really different. And so I got to really see that, hey, you can start saving. And so a lot of my friends, even my friends who had refund checks, some of my friends were actually saving it. And so I realized that I can save. I also realized that you don't have to wait for people to give you money. And so I started working during college. I did work study. I picked up 2 or 3 jobs just so that I wouldn't have to take out additional loans. And so I did that because I saw people working. In my family, we grew up with education as number one, and that's the first priority. And so my parents didn't really want me to have a job or anything like that, in spite of us being not as well off as we could have been, because they were saying, we need you to focus on your education. Your education is the key to get out of this situation. And yes, it was, but my key to stay in my good situation was to get a job.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a really good point there, because that's frequently what people run into is a parent loves their child. They want what's best for their child. Even if they get to the point of, like you said, reaching 17 or 18 and they can't pay fully for that child's education, they want them to have that education and they want them to be able to focus on it the same way. In a parent's mind, like the way of leveling the playing field. I want you to be able to fully do this thing so that you can be your best at it. But sometimes you're not seeing down the road that long-term cost of, if you don't work, you just take out X much more in student loans to either one, be able to live or to cover the cost of tuition, et cetera. And then you get to post-college and you've got this mountain of student loan debt that could have been a little bit smaller if you had done something during that 4-year period. So I think if you bring up a really good point about that idea of the parents wanting what's best for you, but needing to think all the way into the future about what's truly going to be best for you.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting because right now I'm actually playing with this idea for folks in my tribe in terms of, do you have to pay for your kids' college education? Because I definitely even look at, say, where I am, even though I didn't get a full ride to college and my parents didn't pay for my education, I think that it taught me such great skills in terms of how to hustle. It taught me how to not take things for granted. And it made me appreciate even the books that my parents were able to pay for. And so I have so many clients even now who are in so much debt because they took on the debt of their kids' college education and now they can't retire. They have to push it back and all these things. And I'm actually in the midst of wondering, should we actually pay for our children's college education? Should we pay for all of it? Maybe it's a disservice that they don't get to go out there and learn the hustle and understand why it's important for them to get internships and really work hard in college so that when they get out, it's a lot easier for them.
I know. I definitely think it's food for thought. Like you said, there's no one size fits all. And I think sometimes the trap we fall into as well is, what is society saying and what is our peer group saying, or what are other people's values and what are other conversations that we're hearing? And then you feel the pressure based on that. But everyone's financial plan is customized to you, the individual. And you need to be thinking about, like you said, is this what's best for me and my family? Is this what's best for my child? Is this what's best for my financial future? And if I'm saving for retirement, et cetera, and really creating a plan based on what your goals and your values are, as opposed to what America says you need to do, or what XYZ TV show says you need to do, or what people are telling you is the right thing to do, or you have to have money to be able to pay for your kids' school, et cetera. It's definitely food for thought.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit now. Okay, you finished college. What did you major in?
I majored in philosophy and I had a minor in international studies and business.
What were you planning to do?
It was kind of weird. So I know folks are like, philosophy, really? And I'm like, yes, I knew head in. If I'm going to go and get something, I might as well get something that I liked. Because I interviewed a lot of folks before going to college and realized that a lot of times what you major in ends up not being anything that you actually do in real life. So I was like, well, I like to think. Might as well get educated on how to think. And so I thought I was going to be a lawyer because that's like the logical decision for people with philosophy majors. And that's kind of the answer you tell people, even though you don't really want to do it. They're like, you're smart. Why don't you be a lawyer? And I'm like, maybe, taking a couple of LSATs later, didn't get the scores I wanted. And then I did get into law school, actually, a few law schools. And it was amazing, the experience of getting into law school. But I'm a research person, if you guys can't figure that part out now. I love talking to people and getting their actual experience because that's completely different than a textbook experience. So every time I spoke to a lawyer, they were like, don't do it. Don't do it. And I'm sorry if you're listening and you're a lawyer, this is no jab to you. Like, I appreciate your life and what you do. But a lot of folks in your field was telling me not to do it. And so I was like, you know what? Am I going to really be that one out of 100 million happy lawyers? I really don't want to take that chance, especially if there's a lot of debt. And people were saying it's an investment. But then I was looking at property prices as well as, saying my legal price for my education. And so it wasn't adding up. I was like, so this property costs this much, but law school costs this much. But when I get out of law school, I'm going to make the same as a person who didn't go to law school. It just didn't add up to me. So I didn't do that.
So what, in fact, did you do then?
So what I did was I went and I interned at Goldman Sachs. And so I wanted to see how people make money. Coming from my financial background, I went to college, I got a taste for money, and I was like, I need to see how this happens. I need to learn. How do you make money? I want to be a millionaire. And so I thought, well, there's this company, Goldman Sachs, and they're apparently the really great folks at making money. So I'm going to work for them. And I applied for the internship. And it was really interesting because in my internship, only 3 people from my school got accepted from Binghamton University because I did eventually transfer out of my expensive university and go to the best public university in New York State. So I went to Binghamton University. Yeah, it was great. And I was one of 3 people to get accepted for a summer internship. And that was because even though they went to the business school and they went to the engineering school, I was the cookie from the liberal arts school. So my cards actually played out well. Went to Goldman Sachs. I was in operations, meaning that I just pretty much helped people finalize the trades. So I wasn't the person in the front making money. I was kind of the person in the back protecting it and making sure that the money was actually there to be made. And it was great, but I kind of hated it. So I left.
What did you hate about it?
So this was in 2006, and I actually was due to graduate in 2007. And so this was right before the Great Recession. And I remember in 2006 working on some accounts and moving money from one account to one account. There's regulations that you can't have this much money in one particular kind of account. So we moved them to our UK office. And I was just like, this doesn't seem very kosher, what I'm doing here. And I was looking into the products and stuff. And I just kind of had a really eerie feeling about it. And it was also a really big guys club at the time. I was natural. My hair was natural. And I was natural before natural was cool, right? Same thing with not eating meat and being a vegetarian. I stopped eating meat in college. So I'm really good at picking up things on the onset, which is why I can tell why I'm the investor I am today. But I had natural hair and I had to straighten it all the time. And I remember straightening it. And one day it wouldn't get back natural.
Oh
And
my God, that happened to me too, girl.
yes,
That is
I was
exactly when I stopped. I was like, no more of this.
exactly. And so that's what happened. And then so I went with my natural hair to work, and they're like, wow, what happened to your hair? This is again when natural wasn't cool. Believe it or not, there was a time when it was not cool to be natural. It seemed as if you were unkept and unprofessional. So that's when I was just like, you know what? I'm not messing with you guys. I didn't like the person I was becoming. I was spending ridiculous money. I was making more money than my parents, and I was started getting a little cocky about it. I was wasting it on going to these really nice restaurants in Manhattan, spending $400 on a meal. I'm like, dude, you from Queens. What you doing right now? So I really just kind of had to nip it in the bud because I didn't enjoy the person I was becoming.
I mean, I think it's really good to have the awareness to realize like, hey, something's not right about this. This is not my best and most authentic me. And so I need to stop now because I don't want to get down a road that I can't feel like I'll bring myself back from. So to have that poise and maturity is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, it's the benefit of growing up because I'm the youngest of 8. And so I feel as if I'm in between generation and I can see what happens to other people's lives when they mess up. So it's kind of nice to get the bird's eye view.
I feel you. I feel you. All right. So tell us what happens next then. You leave there and...
So I left there and I bounced around after graduation. It was a recession. And so it was kind of hard to get a job initially, which happens for a lot of us. And what I did was I started working at Ralph Lauren doing budgetary finance because I could work an Excel sheet because that's what I did. And so they didn't care if I had a philosophy degree, to be honest. That's to tell you, it really doesn't matter what you graduate with. It just matters about your skills. So I went to Ralph Lauren. And then after a while, I was like, I just don't want to see numbers anymore. I haven't read a sentence in weeks. This is crazy. I'm just working in Excel running macros. And so I went and I left there. And then I ended up being a recruiter at a web design firm. And this is weird because I'm an introvert by heart. And so the fact that I was being a recruiter was such a stretch for me. But you know what I thought? I thought I need to learn how to push my boundaries because if I'm going to get paid in this world, I'm really clear that I need to learn and be comfortable with people. And so I kind of look at it as an experience to get paid. So I got paid to get comfortable with people. And I look for that way for everything in my life. It's like, how can I provide a win-win where I'm giving someone a service, but I'm also getting paid to learn? You know, I'm getting a benefit from it as well. And so that's what I did. I worked at an agency, and that's when I started my career in investing. It was 10 years ago. And I started becoming an investor because we'd do sites. I'd recruit folks to build sites like CNN, JetBlue, and IKEA. And I knew that once we built a site for them that would actually work to make them money, that I knew that their company would make money. And then I figured out, well, if their company is going to make money, maybe I can make money from them making money. So I started buying the stocks of the companies that we would work for. So if I saw that we were getting a new account and I needed to hire a designer, I'd check into the company like, all right, you're going to make money, so I'm going to invest in you.
Okay, I like it. I like it. Okay, so tell us what it means to check into a company then. You said you kind of got this idea from seeing the companies that you're working with, like, oh, these are going to be good companies. But what was the process of feeling like, oh, I can buy stock in this company and I'm not afraid to do it? Because so many of us are afraid to even pick a stock. And what do I need to know? And all these numbers and these business sheets I got to read. How did you get going?
So to be honest, I did 2 things. I was in a crappy job, right? I was working 60 hours a week as a recruiter. If you speak to any of your recruiters or as you're looking for jobs, do know that it is a ridiculously stressful job and oftentimes it's underpaid, right? And even though they do so much work, they don't get a lot of credit for it. And so I was one of those people on the inside and I just thought like, well, hell no, I'm not doing this forever. And so I need to figure out a way. So for me, it was more so, how could I not do this? I have to do this. I have to figure out a way to make my $40,000 salary feel like 50 or 60,000. So I did 2 things. I started a side hustle. And so I started my first business. Lauren doesn't even know this. It was a jewelry business. And so I started making jewelry. I went to thrift stores and got used jewelry and repurposed it. And this was before it became all cool, but I did that circuit and I made jewelry and went to street fairs and holiday boutiques. And I had a whole jewelry line. And I started investing in the stock market. And I just Googled, how do I buy Amazon? How do I buy Google? And I remember seeing the price of Google. And I think at the time it was maybe $350. And I was like, oh no, I don't have $350. And so then I did this program where you could put in $50 and get a piece of Google. And I remember that being one of the first companies that I invested in. And people were like, you could afford Google? And I was like, nope, but I found a way.
It speaks to like the same thing that we said earlier. No is not the answer. You see the first thing and a lot of people give up. no was not the answer when they told you didn't have financial aid, and no was not the answer when it was like, oh, I can't afford Google. It's like, well, how can I afford Google? Always finding the opportunities instead of looking at the obstacles is, I think, is a really good skill that you have, and one that's awesome that people can figure out how to craft that and take advantage of it.
Absolutely. For me, that's exactly it. I love that you said it's how. When I hear a no, for some odd reason, I don't hear no. People tell me no, and it's like, okay, maybe no, not yet. in my head, it's like, so not yet. I can do not yet. Or if people say, I can't do this, and I say, I tell my clients all the time, they're like, hey, I can't do this. And it's like, I don't want to hear what you can't do. I want to hear what you can do. So
hey.
Right? And they're like, well, I can do this and I can do that. All right, now let's just start. Let's just figure out what we can do. Because dealing with the knots is not going to get you to where you want to go, right? That's the surefire way to do it. So if you want to get your finances right, or if you're working paycheck to paycheck, but you're making a good money and you're thinking, I don't understand. I have a really good job. I have a really good salary. Why don't I have a good savings account? That's okay. But it is not okay to sit there not feeling okay. You have to do something about that feeling and go and get an answer.
Yes, you do. All right, so let's fast forward a little to where are you now? You started investing. You had that side hustle back then. These things were going on. And then how do we get to where we are? And where are we exactly?
So a couple businesses later, jewelry company did not survive. Stocks in my portfolio did though. And I did a couple of businesses because I'm a serial entrepreneur. Seriously, I love the art of being able to make your own money. Don't take it for granted. And we're born into such a unique time and space where we can, without outside backing, without anything, you can just up and start your own business and create your own website. Never could have happened before. So I kept on doing businesses in many different forms. And then one day I eventually owned a social media agency, and I didn't really enjoy it as much, but I'm really good with business and marketing. So again, it made sense. It was one of those, you're smart, go be a lawyer. It was like, you're young, you get this social media thing, teach it to old people. So I did that, and it was okay, but not fulfilling. And one day I went on a show. It's supposed to be for Tech Tuesday. And I'm really great with getting and generating press and how to leverage that. But I went on for this Tech Tuesday and I was like, people just need to start owning things. If you're on Facebook, you need to own Facebook. So many of us spend hours of our day on Facebook. Has it occurred to you to actually own the company so that at least you're paying yourself when you're on it? And people were just like, what? I can own Facebook? It was such a foreign thought. And it still is a foreign thought. A lot of people don't think about it. And so that's how my business got birthed, my now business, which is the Happy Investor Method. I teach folks how to invest in the stock market, just how I did. And what's really interesting is that people are like, so you must be a millionaire now with your investments. And the thing is, no, I'm not. I'm still on the journey to becoming a millionaire, just like everyone else with their investments and their thing. The thing is that I actually show people what's working for me, and I share that. And there's a reason why I'm not a millionaire. There was a time in my life when my dad was really sick, and it was right around that social media agency business. And I had morphed it into another iteration of the same company just so I can work one-on-one with people at a higher rate. But my dad had gotten really sick and I had to take time to take care of him. And of all my 8 siblings, I was the only one that can do it. Everyone already had kids. Everyone was already married. Everyone was living in Canada, in India. And it was just me. It was kind of one of those moments where you were like, if it is to be, it is up to me. I had one of those. And I actually had to liquidate a significant amount of my investments to keep us afloat for a couple of months. And I don't regret it at all. Because for me, it's like, I get to take care of the people that took care of me for so long, the people that worked hours every single week, going to jobs that they hated. I got to take care of this man. And even still today, it almost makes me tear up because this is what investing could do for people and they don't even realize it. It's that insurance policy that you never thought you'd ever need, right? And it doesn't have to be for something like taking care of your parents or a loved one. It could be that insurance policy for you when you want to get a new house. That insurance policy when you wake up and you say, hey, I hate my job. I don't want to go back. And then just to know that you have a couple thousand, that's just on auto in the background. Just to know that you have the power to say, I can stop doing whatever I want and I'll still be okay. And so that's kind of why I love what I do and why I'm so passionate about it. Because I feel like people just have no idea that when the day comes for them to truly need this, how much they're going to go back to their past self and say, I'm so happy you did this.
Yes, I love it.
Starts right now.
And I think you hit on a few really good points just now. One, that, there's no overnight success. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions about investing and about trying to make your money grow is, oh, if I give you this $100, I'm gonna be a millionaire tomorrow, right? You ain't turned into 1,000 yet? How long is it gonna take you to flip this money for me? Is a question that I get frequently. That's not what this is. So acknowledging that this is something you do, this is something you love, this is something that is working for you. But no, I'm not a millionaire yet. Yes, go and put the yet on the end. And this idea too of just financial freedom being created around you putting money away. Because at the end of the day, investing is still that. It's saving. You have to have money to put in to be able to purchase these things. And by putting money into this, you're not putting money into a cheeseburger or a flip-flop or whatever it is that you might purchase that is not necessarily an investment and is not going to pay you in the future. But that also takes time. And so creating that so that you do, in fact, have that nest egg, or you do, in fact, have that backup plan, and you can stop and say, now I can use this invested, quote unquote, money to invest in the people that matter to me. I love when you said that. Like, investing happens in so many different aspects of life. It's not just in this true stock market sense of things.
Yep, absolutely. And I am the poster child for that.
All right. So tell us a little bit about how you're handling things now, personal finance. So I know you're married, you have a kid. What do you want to teach your daughter about how to personally manage your finances, and how do you maybe want it to be different than your upbringing and what you saw financially growing up?
So what's really interesting is that my company is doing really well, and we're in a pretty good place. You know, my husband and I, he's the W-2 side of our partnership. He goes in every day and he does the daily hustle and daily grind. And I'm the entrepreneur side of it, where I wake up and I go to sleep pretty much. I wake up in pajamas and I go to sleep in pajamas because I just work at the table or on the couch all day. But what's really interesting, and this is something that's very recent that I've noticed, is my reluctance to give money away, right? And so I'm making decent money. My business is going well. A lot of people are getting impacted with the knowledge of what I have to share. And I'm extremely thankful for that. But now that money's coming in, I'm like, I don't know if I want to spend this money though, because I didn't always have money this way. So maybe I should kind of hold it. And we could actually pay off our debts. We have enough where we can put a dent in our student loans, or we can put a dent in our mortgage. And I'm like, but I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So maybe I should just hold on to this a little bit tighter, because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I can't go back to our mortgage company and say, can I get that money that I gave you a couple months ago back? I can't do that. And so it's really interesting where I'm having another grown-up moment, which is not the way I was raised. And so I have to still go look for people to help me, show me how to not spend money, but how to use money once you get it.
Yes, I love it. So that brings us to a good point. Who are the members of your financial entourage now? Where do you get that help?
For me, I can take care of the investing part, right? And so I'm that person, but we also have someone on our team, and I call it a team. So I have a team, and it's not a big team, but I have someone who's a financial accountability person, just to make sure that it's like, hey, you said you want to do this, so you go out there and you do it. You said you wanted to pay this bill, so you go pay it. And so someone who actually gives us a snapshot of what is going on in our finances. My husband used to look at me and he said, you teach people how to invest in the stock market. Why aren't you great at managing our budget? And I'm like, I know how to make money, dude. I never said I know what to do once we get it. Like, it's just that real.
And it's true. There's all different aspects of finances. And so this is one thing, making money versus creating a plan around what to do with it once it comes in is two entirely different things, two entirely different jobs. Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly it. So I'm like, okay. So you get that, right? And so I'm really excited to start being more active about it. So like I said, we just got this one person who's going to help us become more accountable with our finances, who's going to give us a report and also do a lot of the mindset coaching around it. And so she's got an actual online program, and we're just going to do it on our own over the next 2 months while things die down for the holidays. And we're just going to really get clear on it. I also have financial mentors. So those are folks that I don't talk to one-on-one about my finances, but they're people that are quite transparent about their finances with me. And so these are folks who are real estate moguls. These are people who have literally saved for their kids' colleges and their kids' wedding. They've already got their grandkids' wedding saved for through their investment accounts and all that. And so I have a lot of financial mentors where I just sit and every couple months I just chime in and say like, well, can you tell me how you did this? I got this amount of money. If you had this amount of money, what would you have done or what would you do? And so just little things like that. People are more than happy to share with you their money story once you actually ask them. It's a misconception that people don't want to talk about their money story. it's actually a lie because it's something that they've worked really hard to get. And if you're not asking specific numbers, they'd be more than happy to help.
I love it. In that same vein, you said you have these money mentors, but in your circle of friends, is it also kind of as open and transparent where you're discussing strategies pretty openly, or people are pretty hands off with discussing their finances in your circles?
So it's really interesting, right? Because, like when you're the person who does something, you can preach until forever. And then people are going to be like, oh, you do that, right? It's so hard to get folks. And you're going to know this if you are thinking about starting up a business or something. It sucks. But to be honest, there'll be the folks who buy stuff from you just because they love you and they just want to support you. Kind of like if you were a Girl Scout and you had to sell cookies. They're like, I really don't like these cookies, but whatever. I'm just going to buy it just to show you I support you. And so there are folks like that, like your moms and your cousins and your best friend. And then they're your outer circle. And so believe it or not, everyone knows that when they're ready to come and make money, that I'm the person they should come to. But that's a huge misconception because I started investing when I didn't have money. And people don't understand that, well, this is how you get money. This isn't a conversation you do when you have money. It's a conversation you add in to accumulate wealth as well. Of course, you want to pay down on your ridiculous high revolving interest rate debts. But at the same time, what does it look like if you actually stopped eating out for 2 months, did a little carb-free diet or something, just ate vegetables for cheap? And what does it look like if you actually purchased a stock? So for me, again, and for my family, they know that I'm the one that's going to probably be the billionaire in the family. But they're also thinking when I'm ready, I'll go to her. And I don't push it, to be honest. I just disseminate random information. And it's just when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
I love it. I love it. So you're always dropping those seeds of knowledge. And you said once they bloom and they grow, when the time is right for someone, that's when they will come for you.
Yeah, you can't force someone to want more. You can't force someone to be hungry. That's kind of one of the lessons that I had to learn early on with this business. Is like, I really want people to change their lives. But you know what, to be honest, I can't want your life to change more than you want your life to change. That's ridiculous because it's your life that's going to be changed, not mine.
Ooh, I love it. Dropping all the nuggets. All right. So I want to circle back to a question about your baby girl. What do you want to teach your daughter about money?
I want to teach her that it is always here and available to her whenever she wants it. And she always will have more than enough to do whatever it is she wants to do in life.
Have you thought about strategies in age appropriate ways to communicate about money to her?
Absolutely. And so, it's already happening. People give me money for my daughter. She has an account and we invest for her. And so people give me money for her and I invest it for her. And when she gets older, she's going to see that that's what we do with money. People give us money, we save it and we invest it. And we also give some away for other folks who aren't fortunate enough to be in the situation that we're in. And so that's kind of the biggest lessons that I'm going to teach her is saving, investing, and charity. Yes. And I'm excited to do that because, like I said, if I'm trying to teach her that there's more than enough, so many people, like I'll give to a person. The other day I was in a Target parking lot. I straight opened up my wallet and gave a lady and her family $100. But why I am having this block against paying off these student loans and this mortgage, I just don't understand. But for me, that's why I will always have, because I'm always willing to give because I know that my cup continuously runneth over. And everyone's cup continuously runneth over. The only difference is some people who believe it and others who don't.
Yeah. And I think it brings up a really good point about mindsets. Like you said, some people believe it and then there are others who don't. And the biggest change comes not because you get a financial guru that has all the answers. It's because you shift your mindset. And it's going to be the exact same way. Like you said, at least you acknowledge I have this block here. That's something that's a mindset thing. Why do I feel like I can't spend this money? But you said kind of like the 12 steps of the alcoholism deal. The first thing is to admit you have a problem. And it's like, okay, I'm aware of this thing. I know that I'm holding on, but you can tell because you keep bringing it up, there might be a better strategy to start to do these things. But in the right timing, the mindset will change, the door will open, and you'll be taking care of things business as usual. But it's always about challenging yourself mindset wise, which you're already doing by saying, hey, I don't feel good about this. I don't want to do it. And like you said, there's an awareness already around it, which creates the opportunity for the change to happen.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, you guys just build on your mindset. It's so huge. Things get easier once your mind follows. Your mind is the thing that's going to talk you in and out of something so quick. And so if you build up your mind, it's going to be a lot easier for you. You'll see.
Yes. So if you could gain one financial skill, what would it be?
That is a really good question. You may not like this or you may like this, but I actually want to learn how to do some more serious trading. And so like options and day trading, it's not a huge strategy for me. To be honest, it goes counter to my investing philosophy because I'm more of a long-term investor. But I see folks out here getting money in these streets, and I'm already really great at investing. And so I'm now thinking of going back and honing that skill where I could be potentially a swing trader. And that's because, again, I'm just going to not go on. I'm going to forego Christmas gifts this year to folks. And I'm just going to get them like a really heartfelt something, like a poem or something that I can create myself. And I'm going to take that money and I'm going to practice a new skill set. So even if it doesn't go well, at least I got to learn something new.
Girl, did you just say it was okay not to buy a random sweater just to feel like you had to get Uncle Joe something and instead say, nobody is getting anything. I am instead going to invest in myself over the holidays. Did you say that was okay?
I know it's not popular.
Ooh, get it?
I know it's not popular, but guess what? Like I said before, I'm really into sentimental gifts. I'll do a sentimental gift. So I'll take my daughter's picture. I'll get the top 3 of them that I love. I'll slap that sucker in a nice frame from Marshall's. There you go.
Yes.
I'll write a nice card that we're going to make together. Me and my infant daughter, I will hold a pen in her hand. We ain't buying no Hallmark card. And
I love it.
You're going to love it because that's what actually matters.
And so frequently, we bust ourselves up financially over the holidays because you feel obligated to so many different things that, like you said, values wise, maybe doesn't really line up with what you actually want to do. And then you got to turn around a week later and set all these resolutions about how you're going to fix all these problems you made over the holidays.
Yes.
And in fact, you can just say, no, I'm going to not do this. And I'm going to head into 2019 gangster style, ready to go because I've already invested in myself and I'm going to continue to do so. I love it. I love it. All right. So we're to the final portion of our show. It has been wonderful. So we're going to do a little bit of a rapid fire. I call it the final sprint. I'm going to ask you some questions and you just tell me whatever comes to mind.
All right.
All right. You got $20 in your pocket right now. What do you spend it on?
I'll probably buy stock.
Best advice you've ever received?
More times than not, people are out there to help you, not hurt you.
Yes. Worst advice you've ever received?
It's all about the money.
Yeah, that's terrible advice. What about your worst money habit?
Not paying off debt. Clearly, I told you guys that. Releasing the money.
Yes. And way to keep it real about, everybody doesn't conquer everything in 2 days flat. You're working on things. Everybody always is. Finish this sentence. That awkward financial moment when
you realize that you didn't transfer money from your business account to your personal account and the card didn't work.
Yes. That is an awkward moment. And then you're like, no, but I got the money. Like, for real. Like,
I'm like, no, I really have money. I'm not lying.
And then the lady behind you is like, it's okay, sweetie.
I'm like, I just got transferred from this account to this account. And you're like, yo, really though? I'm not past this moment yet.
All right. Last question. What is the most meaningful gift you received? Who was it from and why was it meaningful?
So my sister actually gave me $1,000 last year to invest in my business. And that was extremely meaningful because it was the first time that anyone's ever invested in me. I know my parents put a little something for my college, or at least they tried. But that was someone saying, no, I'm investing in you because you are worthy to be invested into.
Yes, I love it. All right. So we have, for real, one more last question. This is the last question. So can you share with us one thing that you would like to improve about your finances in the upcoming year?
I definitely want to save an additional 100,000. So this year I want to save an additional 100,000, which is crazy because in the past I would have said I want to make this much, but I've learned the lesson that it's not truly what you make, it's what you keep.
Yes. I love it. All the sound bites. It is not what you make. It is what you keep. Let's say it 7 more times. Okay, let's not. All right. But what is the action item to help you reach that goal?
For me, it's being more diligent about saving, say, 30% of what I make and making sure that I only spend 10% of what I make.
I love it. Save more than you spend. All right, we have made it to the finish line. You are an Olympic gold medalist at the final sprint. You're standing on the podium. I am crowning you with the medal of the Worth Listening podcast. And now it is your time to shine. Shout yourself out. Tell us where we can find you, how we can support you, whatever you want to tell us so that we can make Angela E. Matthews stay on top of the podium.
Awesome. So you can find me at thehappyinvestormethod.com. There's always something free on the site when you go there. So go to happyinvestormethod.com. Sometimes it's a guide on marijuana stocks. Sometimes it's a guide on 20 stocks, $20 or less, whatever it is. Feel free to throw your information in and grab you a goodie so you can start raising up that mindset.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Angela, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you guys for listening and taking the time.
I hope you enjoyed listening to Angela's Money Memoir. She gave us advice to focus shifting our mindset and looking past no to see how we might be able to find a more suitable answer. Many people let fear or embarrassment stop them from pursuing the thing that is really important to them. But not Angela. She would not let no stand in her way. Which brings us to our word of the day, choice. The dictionary definition is making a decision when faced with two or more possibilities. The key here is possibilities. Mindset might have you say that there are no other options. However, if you choose to focus on the possibilities and then take action, change is definitely inevitable. I love when Angela said, sometimes you think you're born into a situation and you're going to have to die in that situation. It really does make people feel hopeless. But the second you realize you have a choice, which we all have, then you can actually be diligent about changing your situation. You can choose to figure this out on your own. You can choose to invest in yourself by enlisting the help of a professional to help you with the strategy and to be that accountability partner to make those changes in a timely fashion. The choice is yours. Thanks for tuning in today. We hope you found this episode worth listening to. If you have questions, suggestions for guests, or would like to share your own money memoir, please contact us through our website, worth-listening.com.